Are you struggling with exhaustion after COVID? You're not alone. Long COVID fatigue can be debilitating, but there are ways to end your fatigue. Stay tuned for tips on food, supplements, and lifestyle changes to help you regain your energy fast and get back to living life to the fullest. Hello, and welcome to this growing community of people who are ready to heal their weird mystery symptoms that conventional medicine doesn't have answers for. I'm Carrie Bailey, your functional nutritionist. I work with people with anxiety, depression, and other weird mystery symptoms. And together we use food as medicine. Let's jump in. If you're struggling with long COVID fatigue, you might be having a hard time explaining what this fatigue is, why you feel tired or sleepy or different than other forms of fatigue. That's because this is a neurological fatigue. It's coming from your head, from your brain, from your nervous system. It might also be called a central nervous system fatigue. It can cause a decline in concentration, memory, and recall. It can also affect your mood and decision-making and emotional state. You might be feeling irritable. You might be feeling overwhelmed at the smallest and simplest of tasks. This fatigue feels like both mental and physical exhaustion all built into one. So I have 3 clients right now with fatigue. 2 of them were caused by long COVID, but the third one had chronic fatigue for many, many years. And he's had COVID and he was able to bounce back to the level that he was before. So we don't necessarily explain it as long COVID. But I thought these were 3 really good examples to just show you how different the protocol is, as well as how they're feeling. So Mike, he is retired. He had chronic fatigue his entire life. And it's all that he can do to muster energy to take care of himself, to juicing celery, to making his smoothies, to cooking for himself and taking care of himself. That's all the energy that he can muster up. There's no extra energy for going for walks, for things like that. And he has this excessive daytime sleepiness. And sometimes when things go awry, he'll end up in reversing his sleep schedule. So he'll end up sleeping during the day and awake at night. And so there's been 2 or 3 times in the past year that we've had to flip that and try to get him to sleep at night and be awake during the day. My second client, we'll call him Eric, and Eric has post-exertion malaise. So the harder he works out, the more he has to rest. He found out that if he worked out too hard, if he exercised really hard, he would get headaches and it would increase his dizziness. And so he found that slow walking was his best option. He also has excessive daytime sleepiness and he works a full-time job. And so he does have to periodically go out to his car and take naps. And we encourage that because it's important to get the rest that you need and however that you need that. And my last client, Clint, he has fatigue and brain fog, not quite to the degree at the other 2, but he actually feels energized and feels better by working out. So he can exercise not super hard, not excessively, but exercising is actually the thing that makes him feel really good. All of their fatigues are what I would call a central nervous system fatigue. It impacts their entire body. And at the root cause of all of their issues is viral. It is Epstein-Barr. Epstein-Barr produces neurotoxins, which further inflame the brain and the nervous system. So as I said, 2 of my clients had long COVID. It was triggered by long COVID with a trigger. And the other client had COVID, but didn't get long COVID. But again, he's had lifelong chronic fatigue. They all have toxins. There are heavy metals and other toxins in our body, which are producing extra burden on our body and preventing our body from functioning optimally. There's also a degree of brain inflammation with a lot of this fatigue. You may know that in chronic fatigue syndrome, they also call it myoencephalitis. Again, it's the inflammation of the brain. Conventional medicine is noticing that it is a neurological issue, right? A nervous system issue. Inflammation of the brain can be caused by viruses, unwanted bacteria, caused by fungi, and it could be a mix of all 3, right? So you want to understand, are you exposed to mold in your environment? Is mold somehow gotten in your body and can't get out? In most cases, these viral load may have started low, and then it gets triggered by these events. And these events are like stressful events, like the death of a loved one or COVID, getting sick, getting some other infection on top of it. So there's a lot of other triggers. And again, the triggers, it's a little bit like a snowball going down the hill, right? So the more triggers you get, the more it's going to cause problems. This chronic brain inflammation can also weaken things like your adrenal glands, your liver, your digestive system. It creates this low battery feeling. You kind of lost your get up and go. You've lost a little bit of motivation. But you've already got this brain inflammation, which is further weakening your immune system because this is a body-wide issue. This inflammation, it starts in your brain and then it just kind of snowballs, right? And then it weakens your immune system. Your immune system is a little bit like a firefighter with a squirt gun instead of a hose. Your immune system just doesn't have the power to fight all the viral load that's happening in your body. And so all it can do is create inflammation. So inflammation is a little bit like the firefighter's hose. It's trying to put out the fire, but it doesn't have enough anti-inflammatories. It doesn't have enough resources to be able to do that. And this is where I always say, if you give the body what it needs, it can do its job. But in these particular cases, the body isn't getting what it needs. And this immune system weakness can trigger like a cascade of events. This can lead to symptoms like anxiety, depression, psychosis, sleep issues, weak muscles, loss of sensation, bladder problems, and other effects. And what you're going to notice, the weaker the immune system gets, the weaker your vagus nerve gets too, because the viral load is attacking your vagus nerve, and your vagus nerve it runs most of your whole body, right? It's the core of your central nervous system. It branches off to your organs. Let's jump into the things that we can do to resolve this. Let's talk about food first. Nutrition is vitally important. We eat 3 times a day. So everything you put in your mouth can actually be helping you, or it can be hurting you, or it can be sort of neutral. So we want as much as possible to take out processed foods. Processed foods are not nourishing you. They're feeding you. They're filling up your belly. They're not giving your body the nutrients it needs to fight fatigue. We want as many anti-inflammatory foods in our body as possible. These are whole foods. Your body knows what to do with whole foods. They're rich in nutrients and everything that your body needs to fight inflammation and fatigue. Any whole fruit or veggie is great. Those should be the foundation of your diet. Those are the most anti-inflammatory. So today I'm going to give you a tea because I love herbal teas. They're something that you can drink if you have a hard time drinking water. You like to drink something warm during the day. You can also ice them and make them cold. But teas are a great way to not only hydrate, but bring in some extra nutrients that you need. If you're trying to break the habit of coffee or tea, I would suggest nettle tea. Nettle tea is a leaf that has grown actually like a weed, to be honest. You can find it here in California at the farmers markets in the spring. It can boost your immune system. It's anti-inflammatory, so it helps dampen that cytokine storm, which is basically inflammation that's gone out of control in your body. And nettle is also an excellent source of quercetin. And quercetin, you might know, people recommend it a lot as a supplement to take during long COVID. It is an anti-inflammatory, but it's just a molecule, a part of the nettle. It's not the whole nettle. It's just they've extracted, just like they extract curcumin out of turmeric, they extract quercetin out of nettle. But let's get into some specifics about the fruits and veggies. And it doesn't have to be hard. It's super simple. So any fruits that you would put in your kid's lunch, that's how I like to explain it. So oranges, apples, bananas, grapes. Oranges are an excellent source of vitamin C, of glutathione, and potassium. And orange juice, tangerine juice, these are great to put on a salad in place of vinegar. So vinegar is not a healing food. It is going to dehydrate or dry up, pickle your liver, and you don't want that. Vinegar is also one of those foods. If you have histamine issues, you want to take vinegar out. I'd like to dispel this suggestion that with histamine issues, you avoid citrus. So citrus is not high in histamine, but is said to trigger histamine issues. But the issue is not citrus fruit. The issue is citric acid, and there's a difference. So let me explain that. If you've been eating a lot of citric acid, things with citric acid in them, it could be supplements, it could be canned foods, it could be condiments. There's a lot of foods that have citric acid in them. So it's important to read labels. But citric acid is made from fermenting either molasses or cornstarch by a mold called Aspergillus niger. If you have any history with organic acids tests, if you've been to a functional medicine doctor and they've run an organic acids test and they said that you are high in mold or high in aspergillus, because that's actually what's on the test. If those markers are high, again, there could be citric acid in your system that you need to get out of your system. So aspergillus is a fungus, and it is a fungus that produces mycotoxins. So anything that says toxin means it's not good for your body, right? So it's actually creating a burden. So this is the citric acid I want you to avoid, not oranges and lemons and limes. It's a little bit similar to where we want you to avoid sugar, but not natural sugars. So the natural sugars in bananas, oranges, tangerines, that's what we want. I know people are very anti-carb thing, but carbs aren't the problem. The problem is combining carbs with fat. We'll talk about that more. So I like to always bring in fruit with breakfast because there is no fat in the system. If you've been slept all night, you didn't wake up in the middle of the night and have a fat snack, you didn't have a fat meal since dinner time, you've given your body like 12, 16 hours before you eat. So there should be no fat in the system. So you should actually tolerate fruit very well. Another fruit I love are grapes. They cleanse the liver. They're number one energy food. If you think about sort of how sweet they are, they're such a rich in glucose, which again, glucose is what your body needs to get energy. And with grapes, I love to freeze them, right? Because I just can't eat them fast enough, it seems. And so when I get them, I rinse them, I stick them in the freezer, and I eat them, as a snack. I sort of graze on them. We talked about bananas. Bananas are another sugar-rich food, but natural sugar, the kind of glucose that you need, that your body needs to make energy. Bananas are rich in minerals and amino acids. They're cheap. If you ever gone to the store, you can buy, and it's cool because you don't have to buy organic bananas because they have a nice thick skin on them. I still prefer to buy the organic, but you don't have to buy organic to get, and they're cheap. I can buy a whole bunch. I think that's 8 bananas at Costco for like $2.50. It's really reasonable. Bananas help you make neurotransmitters for a great mood. And contrary to, again, popular belief, they do not cause candida. They actually destroy unwanted fungus and bacteria. And they're actually really excellent at stabilizing your blood sugar. And of course, I also mentioned previously about veggies. And so I'm just going to, instead of telling you specific veggies, I'm just going to talk about ways to use the veggies, because I think it's always easy to just give you a list of things, but it's a little bit better to give you ideas of how to incorporate those into your diet. I love cauliflower rice because it's already riced. I don't have to get the food processor out. I don't have to do all that work myself. You can buy it in the cold section. You can buy it in the freezer section. I get mine at Trader Joe's. It's in the freezer section, and it makes such a great side dish. You can saute it or just steam it with water, saute it with water. You can chop up some cilantro, get some more cilantro in your diet to help detox heavy metals. And you can add it, again, this is a great side dish instead of rice to add with wild salmon or a grass-fed beef if you're eating animal protein. Another vegetable that I love for fatigue is celery juice. Celery juice will give you energy. It is amazing. You can juice it with a juicer. You can blend it in the blender. Don't add water. Blend it up. You can use a nut bag, squeeze out all the celery juice and drink it fresh. You can drink that first thing in the morning on an empty stomach is a great time to drink it. Sort of flushes the whole system, your whole digestive system and your liver. And one bunch of celery will make about 2 cups of celery juice. If you were told you have an oxalate issue, or if you have pain in your joints, you might want to start with just 2 ounces, just a teeny little bit. Start really slow with a small amount with 2 ounces and work your way up to 2 cups. I wouldn't try to jump right into it. If you're brave and crazy like me, I would jump into 2 cups. But if you're not feeling so brave, or you're sensitive, you can start lower. But if you want a quick jump in to get feeling really good, then you can take the whole 2 cups. All right. And so if you need a little bit of extra help and support on this journey of healing, I've got a beautiful guide in the description and the comments below to help you get started, where I'm going to give you tips and tricks and everything you need to get started on this healing journey. It's called an Anxiety and Depression Recovery Guide, but again, it covers weird mystery symptoms too. In that guide, I give you recipes, tips, tricks, and everything you need to get you started. All right, let's jump into supplements. This is where the good juicy bits are, so stay tuned. I've talked about B complexes and B vitamins and magnesium in the past. So if you haven't already seen my chronic fatigue video, you want to check that out to learn more about B12 and some other B complex vitamins. B vitamins are really helpful for energy metabolism and fatigue. Second supplement I want to talk about is NAD. NAD stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. That's a mouthful. Now you know why they call it NAD. It's a special molecule found in every cell in your body. It's very important in helping your body create energy and keep you healthy. Your body makes this from the B vitamin niacin. So the form that I actually recommend for you to supplement with is NADH, which is NAD plus H is a hydrogen molecule. NADH carries the energy from the food that you eat to the energy factory in your cells. This is your mitochondrial. So I'm going to put a link to the supplement below, it's called Innata. Now, NADH works with another nutrient called CoQ10 or coenzyme Q10 to help use that energy to create ATP. ATP is the fuel that your body needs to do everything, to walk, to run, to think. You can think of ATP as your cell's battery. Your ATP is produced by your mitochondria. CoQ10 is a special helper inside your body that plays an important role in helping you make energy. It's a naturally occurring compound found in every cell in your body and helps keep everything running smoothly. CoQ10 is produced by the body, but it also comes from your food when you're eating the right foods, when you're eating a whole foods diet and you're digesting well. So if you don't have strong stomach acid, you don't have good bile flow, and you don't have good pancreatic enzymes, you're not going to be able to make CoQ10. CoQ10 can easily be depleted by antidepressants and other medications. Can also be depleted by pathogens and toxins in the body. Now, one word of caution: if you have dizziness or digestive issues, you're going to want to avoid CoQ10. Form of CoQ10 that I like, again, I like to start always with a really low dose because you can always increase, and I like the cleanest form, and that's quinol ubiquinol CoQ10. I'll put a link in the comments and description below. If you're loving this information, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you can see more of my videos as I release them every week. And lastly, let's get into lifestyle factors. The number one important thing if you're struggling with fatigue is sleep. How is your sleep? If you're struggling with sleep, it's really important to focus on that. You can bring in other nutrients, and I've got other videos that I'll link below for you to make sure that you've got your sleep optimized. But it's important for you as a person struggling with fatigue to prioritize sleep. If you're struggling and you're one of those people that doesn't have a lot of energy and you get some second wind at 5, 6, 7 p.m. and you want to ride that wave and get things done, and you end up staying up till 1, 2, 3 in the morning, that's not going to be helpful. It's important to try to get a consistent sleep schedule. Try to get to bed at 9, 10, 11 and sleep at night as much as possible. So that way, the energy that you do get, we want it to be in the morning so that you can be in line with the sun. As I talked about before, there's different exercise is really different for every person and where they are. And so it's important for you to understand where you are and what your limits are, and take yourself to your edge. If you are literally bedbound or chair-bound, just moving your arm up and down, moving your legs, sitting up, standing down, as much movement as you can. So one way to do this is like every hour, maybe you just spend 1 minute raising your arms up and down or your legs up and down and just doing some kind of movement to get the blood flowing, to get the lymphatic system. That's where your immune system is. Your immune system's also in your blood. So getting that blood and that circulation is going to help you heal. On the other side, if you're a person who tries to push yourself, like you're trying to get that high from exercise and it makes you feel really good, so you push too much because it feels good, and then later you crash and you have to take a long nap, whether it's even a 20-minute nap or a 3-hour nap, that you probably pushed yourself too much. So it's about finding that balance, that Goldilocks level that's right for you, and that's very personal. So you have to figure out what forms of movement are helpful and what forms is too much. And so that's really, really, again, important for you to figure out for yourself. It's really important to pace yourself, take breaks, and avoid overexertion. So to recap, long COVID fatigue is both a neurological fatigue and a central nervous system fatigue. It is caused by viruses, unwanted bacteria, fungi, etc., which can also cause brain inflammation. The inflammation can further weaken your digestive system, your immune system, your adrenal system, your hormonal system, and create mood issues like irritability, overwhelm, and depression. You want to eat an anti-inflammatory diet as much as possible with lots of fruits and veggies. You want to keep your fats low and your proteins low, and you want 0 processed foods. The supplements to help you regain your energy are B vitamins, magnesium, NAD, and CoQ10. Lastly, it's important to prioritize sleep. Do your best to get to bed by 9, 10, 11 at night, and focus on good sleep hygiene. And exercise and movement are important even if you are bedbound or chair-bound. Find your edge and go to it. If you find that you've actually been doing too much, back down, because that'll help your body heal. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.